Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about Malrik's Halls of Illusion, how important it is, but mainly the team that you can use to beat all stages of this, some of the substitutions for certain heroes, and all those sorts of good things. That being said, though, before we get started, I want to go ahead and interject here with a little campaign that I got going on. Now, I'm sure you guys have probably heard about this already, but as you can see, I'm wearing my Team Water sweater that was provided, and it's very hot in my room, so we're going to try and make this quick. What is Team Water? Well, I'm glad you asked. It is a social media campaign where we're partnering up with a charity called Water Aid with the goal of eventually raising $40 million to be able to provide clean water for 2 million people for 20 plus years. That's right, $1 can provide clean water for one person for an entire year. Ladies and gentlemen, we may never truly know what kind of a struggle people have without access to things as simple as water, right? If you have ever had any sort of a power outage or anything like that where you've lost it for, whatever extended duration of time it might have been, that is going to be a small tip of the iceberg for what daily life would be like in areas where water is not easily accessible. So for things like washing hands, taking showers, cleaning food, any of that is extremely important in a day-to-day, in your day-to-day life, right? Enough said. This campaign is being participated in by large creators of all sizes, really, right? So it's fantastic that I got invited. We have people like Kai Cenat. Zach King is in there, Dude Perfect. There's so many people. We even have people like Hank Green, right? So there's a good chance that you've already seen this campaign on YouTube, especially. Now, that being said, I am going to leave a link down below if you want to get in on this initiative and donate. It's completely optional, of course. I'm not pressuring anybody. If you want to donate and help bring clean water to people in other parts of the world who may not be so lucky, definitely go ahead and make sure to follow that link. And then, of course, you can hop in my Discord and share it and talk about it as well if you'd like. But back to the video. Now, that being said, like I mentioned, definitely go ahead and make sure to donate to Team Water if it's something that you can do. It's super cool. We are here on August 6th, so 6 days in, and they've already hit $10 million out of the $40 million goal. So things are definitely looking up for reaching that, which is pretty fantastic. Now, Malrik's Halls of Illusion. What's so important about it? Well, the rewards that you get, right? So if we come in here to gear, some of the gear enhancements that you get from this are absolutely insane. So we're getting like Darkfall gems where you can get additional main stat bonuses on your piece, which are fantastic. You can get like variant pieces that will turn these into like a variant enhancement as well. I'm not going to really break down entirely why it's so important, because obviously there's other videos that do that, and if you're here watching the video on the team that's going to beat it all, you probably understand why it's important. So that being said, another consideration to make real quick is that this team was primarily made by Destined, Watcher of Realms, right? Fantastic YouTuber. Make sure to go and check him out if you haven't. So I'm going to go through this and kind of just show you the team. And I have made some substitutions versus the team that he originally used. So this is going to be what it is here, right? The core is still there, certainly. We have some of the strongest heroes inside the game. But like I said, we'll talk about substitutions as well. Now, real quick, just to mention it as well, I am almost 100% free to play. I've been talking about this all the time in my videos. The only way I'm not free to play now is that I did buy the skin for Lust, because it was a pretty fantastic skin, and I got a discount on it, which was pretty sweet. So I don't regret it whatsoever. It's the first and only purchase I've ever made inside Watcher of Realms. Everything else is free. I've never bought in shards, gear, nothing, right? So take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, my account is pretty stacked, but like I say, we're going to go over substitutions. So in terms of platform DPS units, we have a couple of options, mainly just 1 to 2. So we have Eovar and Talon in here. I would highly recommend to run a Piercer, and then obviously a Piercer Lord. So if you're lucky enough to have a Raka or Eovar, that's perfect. If you have Lunaria or Eliza, this will also work perfectly fine. You're basically just looking for that attack range increase, because you're also going to be bringing in Lily, and I think she is one of the best healers for this. You can see her range. Getting the additional range out there allows her to reach so much of the battlefield. And she also has this passive that she prevents incoming fatal damage 1 time and grants this ally a shield equal to 35% of their HP. It can only be triggered 1 time every 55 seconds. This, in conjunction with Torador's passive, means that if you set them up in the proper lanes, you don't need to worry about the suicide bombers coming in at all, right? So it's going to take care of itself, essentially. So U of R is our platform unit. Again, if you don't have him, you can easily bring in some of the other lords. All of the lords are going to do it perfectly fine. Just keep in mind they might not be able to do the same damage as him. Talon, substitutions for her, you're really just looking for any sort of a tank. So I imagine that Malvira would do this incredibly well. I hate this, by the way, how it resets your filters every time you click out of it. Brokir is going to work fine. Trusk, Gon is going to be a fantastic option. Regalis is also a good way to go. Isolde is probably going to be one of the stronger options. Any sort of just a really solid tank, rocks as well. Now for Lily, I would say she's probably pretty irreplaceable with what she does. She is only an epic hero though, so most people should have copies of her, but I'll tell you what, man. She has had such a value surge over the past couple of months inside Watcher of Realms that it is absolutely insane. It's astronomical. Now, we do have Ymeric in here. Ymeric can be replaced as well with any sort of a ranged fighter. So, inside the Destined team, he used Ardea. You could use Ardea. You could use Arrogance, Valkyra. You could probably use a Lust as well. You could certainly use a Zena if you're okay cycling her. Magda would be fantastic. Callista would probably work as well. There's so many fantastic options in here. Lord Phineas as well. You know, you'll have options for this, right? She was a free champion as well that we got at some point. I forget this dude's name, but he could work too. Eris. So Eris could also work. Anybody with a range, right? Now, Eloin. Doesn't have to be Eloin. Could be Hollow. She can do the same thing, essentially. Not too important. Just another healer. We have Torador. Pretty self-explanatory. If you don't have Torador, Wrath is going to work perfectly fine. Sun Wukong and Kigiri. Both of these are exclusive heroes that everybody should have at this point. If you don't have them, I don't know what you're doing, man. We just had a Sun Wukong banner not long ago, and then we had a pick your champion banner where everybody was guaranteed to get one of them of their choice. You should have them unless you literally just started the game, in which case, you know, by that point, there's probably going to be better options anyways. But basically, what you're looking for is any sort of, you know, single target to maybe multi-target heavy damage, especially bursts from the ultimate. So Salazar, who's a fusion at the time of making this, could certainly do well. Somebody like a Jira. There's lots of options, right? Even inside the epics, you have Demos. I made a video on Demos not too long ago, so he's a fantastic option. Volca, everybody gets her, right? Make sure to do your Volca quests if you haven't, if you don't have her. And everybody gets her A5 too, so she can do some work. And then finally, and perhaps most controversially inside this lineup, I'm going to have Valera. The reason being is Valera is super amazing. She's super duper awesome. Go check out my video on her if you haven't. But what she's going to do is she's going to allow you to place her anywhere, basically. You can move her around if you need. She has pushback, right, which is going to help so much with the bombers coming in. And then, you know, you can also use Morden, who was another guaranteed hero when that came out. You could use the fusion that we had as well, the Astriel or whatever his name is. Yeah, Astriel. He could do okay as well with the single target damage. But between the three different tacticians that we have, Valara is definitely the best option. And if you're looking to replace her, you're really looking at somebody who has that pushback, right? So Magda's an option. You could obviously bring in Callista as well. Callista looks fantastic, by the way. Absolutely sensational looking hero. But that's the squad. Let's go ahead and show you how it works, right? So I'll do kind of a run through on this. And then after the run through, I'll also go ahead and just kind of talk to you about some considerations that you want to make. So the first thing you want to do is you want to put your ranged fighter in one of these two spots, depending on what you have going on. If you don't have anything coming in down here, you can put them a little bit further up, which is what I like to do. So something like right here. And then Torador is going to go 2 spaces out in front because he's still going to have the range to go out here and do damage. But then Torador being placed out front like this is going to mean that he can essentially start to damage them and whatnot prior to them actually, you know, getting too far up to your point there, right? So up to your core. I forget what the actual name is for it. So they're going to be doing damage essentially. What I like to do with this is, unless it's a very tough stage, is I just put on auto ultimates. Talon is going to go here, or whoever your tank is goes here. Now, in terms of deployment, there's a few things that I want to mention. So Valera is fantastic for this. Use her to your advantage. So use her where the bombers are going to be coming out, right? Because a lot of these waves are going to have bombers, they're going to have golems that spawn, those sorts of things. So for example, sometimes in the bottom left here, you'll see the golems that spawn and they run and they do like 50% HP damage to your units. You can use Valera and deploy her down here and take them out easily, right? You can have bombers coming from here. You can have bombers coming from here in the top right. You can have bombers coming from up top, I believe, as well. And then additionally, there's actually flying bombers that can spawn up here too. So before you get into the battle, make sure you pay attention to the conditions and where they're going to be spawning. So we'll go over that a little bit after the run. Kagiri goes up top, Sun Wukong right behind Talon. Now, depending on the wave as well, you can do one of two things. So if you have the bombers that are coming in down here and they're going to be hitting your Torador, you can actually deploy Lily like this, and this would require Ymeric to be one slot back and then Torador one slot back as well, because when Lily goes up here with her Lord bonus, she'll have enough distance to actually hit the Torador with heals as well as that cheap death. If you don't have any sort of high damage coming in here up top, you can also just place down your Eovar facing left instead of any other way so that he can help out with some DPS. You may want to move your Talon back, you know, one segment or one square to help out with that. But as you can see, she's healing essentially. I have her inside the Ichor Chalice since she is eligible to have marksman artifacts, which is pretty fantastic. And then in terms of Eloin, again, depending on how people are deployed, you'll want to place her down here. So if you have your Torador backed up, your Ymeric here, you can have her here face down, which then she'll heal this platform unit as well, which is usually Eovar. For this, obviously, I have to place her further out since we have them facing to the left a little bit more than usual. So again, just play around with it, see what sort of deployment works for your particular account and how much damage you have and whatnot. You certainly can bring them back one slot as well. I just really like to have the Torador as well as the Ymeric ulting early so that I can get a lot of control up before they get anywhere near my core. So, you know, it is a bit of personal preference, dealer's choice, right? And then you kind of have some flex options. So if you have the builds like you see that I have, and we're not really taking any sort of damage or anything like that, you'll still have another deployable unit. Again, like I say, you can place Lily down here. If you need additional block, you can place your Volca down here as well. Volca is super, super good for this run in case you are dealing with the bombers and they do blow somebody up. It's going to reduce their redeploy time significantly. And then, you know, that's fantastic, right? So we're still just kind of cruising through this. We got 30 out of 122 of them down. So the one kind of thing I don't like is just how much of a time sink this is. It takes quite a bit of time to get through all this, I will say. Especially if you're on some of the harder stages where there's higher enemy counts or different abilities coming in, or the guys that just kind of stand at the corner and don't do much. That's one of the other reasons why Valera is fantastic as well, because obviously she can like redeploy herself wherever needed. So for example, if you have the guys just standing over here hanging out, you know, with her, put her over there, she'll mess them up. So the tactician units in this game are fantastic. Definitely make sure to make use of them. But that being said, I think I'll go ahead and let the rest of this run through here, just so you guys don't have to sit here the whole time. I'm just going to leave it auto-alting for the rest of the battle. Maybe put down a healer or something like that as needed. But I'll be back with you guys once we finish up. So, ladies and gents, we are just coming to the end of this particular run. So as you can see, we get some goodies. We just got a couple of bosses to take down here. The one kind of unfortunate thing is if you're doing the auto run like this with the auto ultimates, you're obviously going to be not min-maxing with your Kagiri, so there's a crap ton more damage that could be left on the table there. So, you know, if you're really struggling to get through this, if you don't have, you know, very good gear or whatnot, make sure to manual it when needed. But as you can see, we got a decent number of chests there from this challenge, which was pretty nice. We cleared all of it perfectly fine. Like I said, it was all auto-alting as well, so it's a very auto-friendly team, and some very good rewards there. If you're curious about the damage breakdown, this is how it went, actually. So up top was Ymeric, and then we had Sun Wukong, Eovar, Valera, Kagiri, and then Talon doing quite a bit of damage, actually, all things considered. So let's go ahead and talk about a few of the things you want to be aware of. So again, you come in here to the Malrik's Hall of Illusions, and you click on this, right? It's going to tell you, so let's see. So here's the self-destruct unit. So it says that it's going to spawn them at position 4. So come in here to the map, and then you're going to see positions 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this one in particular, it's going to spawn them at the bottom. So what I would recommend is, instead of placing Valara up top, have her along the bottom. Don't place her on the furthest down possible tile. So don't place her here, but place her here. And then turn on the auto-alt. Basically, as soon as they come into a range, she's going to alt push them back and do enough damage to kill them. And then, of course, if you don't have Valera, you can still get around this with something like a Decimus, a Baron, you know, an Olog could do it most likely. Certainly any sort of like a really, really strong tank that has like an unyielding side to their kit can have very good luck with dealing with those particular enemies. Also, keep in mind that you are going to have airborne units. So, for example, with this one, airborne units are going to spawn at position 3. Now, Valera can deal with those as well. If you don't have her, take that into consideration, right? So, you're going to have to make sure that it's an attack or like a ground unit that can attack air as well if you don't have a unit to do that. So just, again, something to consider there, which is very, very important to make sure that you don't fail at this content, because failed runs mean that you're not going to get any of the rewards, which is going to kind of suck. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the builds here real quick. So, Uvar, this is how he's built. These are the stats that he has. Nothing too crazy. You're going to see that, like, none of my gear is really, you know, insane. There's certainly a lot of ancients in here, but, of course, if you play the game for quite some time, you can get similar gear, if not better. We do obviously have Lily in a pretty decent build there. Ymerit is in a pretty decent build as well. He's a very, very good unit. I highly recommend, obviously, but if you have him, you built him out, obviously, right? So, you know, I don't really need to tell you to do that, but if you're on the fence or whatnot, he is a fantastic way to invest in your account. Torador, I got through the Pick Your Legendary event that we had not all that long ago. Kagiri, I actually did a refund on recently, so he's now only A3, which means he's doing a little bit less damage. But I actually, or not Kagiri, sorry, Sun Wukong. And now, because of that, I was able to use the Soul Stones to get Kagiri A3 as well. So both my Sun Wukong and my Kagiri are A3, which has resulted in them being very, very strong. Volka's a fantastic unit. I do actually, oddly enough, recommend building her for damage. She's very, very good at it. And as you can see, we have a very decent build there on Valara as well. So I hope this was helpful for you guys if you're struggling to beat this content, or if you needed just somewhat of a guide to do it. Make sure to let me know down in the comments if there's any sort of questions or issues that you have with Watcher of Realms, specific areas to progress, so that I can try and get some, you know, good relevant content out there for you guys. But that all being said, thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.